Good morning. So, often we seem to forget that extraordinary stories happen to ordinary people all the time, right? We don't have to live in the universe of like the Avengers or things like that, and we often overlook that the places where we live can be extraordinary places for things to happen, right? So, in my story, we're taken to Griffith Park actually too, where we're late actually. We're on the way to see the LA skyline being lit up by the 26 lights marking the 26 miles of the LA Marathon. It was a commemoration event, right? And we're late again. So I really want to get this nice picture, you know, like Griffith Observatory lights, things like that. And when we get there, we realize that I'm not the only one in the whole, I guess, Southern California that wants to go there because there's a huge line going up the Griffith Observatory. So then we decide that we're gonna walk up that mountain and we're gonna make it in time, right? So bad idea, terrible idea. We also went off the trail, and you know, I was dressed nicely. You know, I had like a nice shirt on, a nice anything, and I was like, okay, we can hike up there. You can't hike up that hill. It's just not something that's gonna happen. However, okay, failed. That failed. But on the way down, I did get to see my friend's arm extended, and at the end of that, his pointed finger and the shushing noise, where he was like, shh. And it was a deer, like a deer was there, you know, like how could you see a deer? And, you know, and he like gave us some advice or something, and then he like flew off. But that's not the point of the story. So the point of the story was that was a bummer, so we moved on to downtown LA, and I park, and immediately I know where we are, right? It's Spring Street and 6th Street, right? So I'm like, that's where the 500 Days of Summer bench is, right? So immediately I'm like, hey, like, that's Grand Central Market, that bench is right there. 500 Days of Summer is one of my favorite movies, right? So I'm like, you know what, I have to sit at that bench, I have to. But I noticed that there's a security guard, like, patrolling the grounds. A couple years ago, the park was closed because of budget cuts to the LA Parks and Rec system, right? So it's fenced off and things. So there's a security guard looking around. I'm like, I need to talk to this guy, I need to see what's going on. And, you know, I did get to talk to him, and he was like, hey, we don't actually patrol that area, you can go. And then he proceeded to tell us something about his night, which was like, I don't even care, man, you can do whatever you want, I just, 30 more minutes and I get to go home and do Jack and cocaine, right? And at first I was like, Jack and coke? And he was like, no, cocaine. So now, you know, I gleefully, like, hopped down the stairs or whatever, and like I hopped that fence and as fast as I could because like for a second I wanted to be Joseph Gordon-Levitt, you know, or like a hologram Zooey Deschanel would like pop in front of me and things like that. And you know, that's what I love about where we live. We live so close to LA. We live so close to a place where movies and wonderful stories have happened. After that, we decide to move away from that. You know, I'm the only one that's having a good time because that's my favorite movie. So we decided to walk down downtown, you know, downtown LA. And it's, don't get me wrong, it's like, it's like 12 a.m. now. And we're often told to avoid the streets of LA at night because there's like a lot of like homeless people or people that are gonna rob you, but actually no, like when we were walking through downtown, like the only thing, like I could see all the things that were happening, you know, and by all the things, like, I mean, nothing was happening. Everything was still. I was able to lay on the goddamn floor and look up and see like, the beautiful buildings, and for a second, like, just for a second or two, those buildings become yours, you know, those streets are part of you, and, like, the US Bank Tower, like, becomes the Eddie Carmona Tower. Or the Bank of America building becomes the Bank of Eddie Carmona Tower building, you know? And it's just such a feeling to know that, like, things lining up like Tetris blocks, one by one by one, and then everything's in synchronization, you know what I'm saying? Okay, so after that wonderful feeling, my friend gets it up, and we're, I guess, on our way to a rave now, right? And it's cool. Okay, so this day was particularly great because we're walking to the rave, right? And he's like, the guys walking back were like, hey man, it's 15 bucks to get in. And I'm like, yeah, I got 15 bucks. So then I'm at the gate, and he's like, you were in here before, right? And I was like, yes. So I get into that rave for free, and I then noticed that like there's different folks, and there's different strokes for those folks. You know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't enjoy that rave. I didn't enjoy people having like the time of their lives, I guess, on drugs. But I did discover that the little things in life aren't always so little. Sometimes they're like structures of steel and stone, and that they can leave such an impact in your life. So, thanks.